Hello. I'm James, and I live in Manchester in the UK. And you're listening to English with a Brew, a podcast where I talk about different day-to-day topics to help you learn English the most natural way possible. And that is only by listening to it. If you want to support this podcast, read transcripts, and get exclusive access to more content, go to patreon.com/English with a Brew. So, as we say in Manchester, get a brew on and let's get started. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening once again. How are we all doing? Good, I hope. In this episode, I'm going to talk about water. Something pretty simple, no? Well, it might seem simple, but there's a lot to talk about. So I'm going to talk about the different words that we use or names that we give to describe different types of water in nature, or the different bodies of water that our planet has, and how all of them are fascinating and interesting for different reasons. Because depending on the size or the amount of water and the way it was created, we use different words, and maybe you'll learn some new words listening to this podcast. Let's start small. When it rains hard, or if there is a storm, the rain creates puddles on the ground, and a puddle is water on the ground left by rain. And I think even as an adult, it's still fun to run and jump in puddles, just like when we were kids. The only problem is, as an adult, I'm the person who has to wash the clothes afterwards. Slightly bigger, a little bit bigger than a puddle, is a pond. A pond is usually standing water. It's not running water. It doesn't have a flow. And actually, you can think of a pond as a big puddle that never disappears. Some ponds are man-made or human-made. For example, some people create ponds in their gardens, and other ponds are natural, created simply by a hole in the ground that gradually fills with water over time. Ponds are great for wildlife, the animals, insects, and birds, but the water is not safe to drink. Bigger than a pond is a lake. Lakes can still be quite small, say 10 meters long, but also lakes can be gigantic. They can be enormous. The longest lake in the UK is Loch Orr in Scotland, which is 41 kilometers long. And there are lakes much bigger than that around the world. Usually lakes are formed by rainwater running down off mountains and hills, or other sources of running water, like rivers or streams. Rivers and streams are both sources of running water. Rivers are bigger, wider, and deeper than a stream, and rivers have a more continuous flow. However, there is also a type of artificial lake made by humans called a reservoir. Humans create reservoirs to store and reserve water so that there is always enough for our towns and cities and the people that live in them. And reservoirs can also be used to generate electricity by building something called a dam, which is a kind of wall that regulates the flow of water through it. All of these bodies of water are called fresh water because they come from sources of fresh water, like rain or a natural spring in the earth. And the other bodies of water are salt water because they contain, or they are full of, salts and minerals from the earth. And the two main bodies of salt water are the sea and an ocean. Seas are smaller than oceans and are where land meets the ocean. You can swim in the sea, and seas have waves, and some people enjoy surfing on the waves or other types of water sports, while oceans are huge, almost too big to comprehend, and full of waves that are taller than most boats. The deepest part of the ocean in the world is over 10,000 meters deep, and there's still lots of the ocean that humans have not explored. So that's it. From a puddle to a pond, to a lake, to a sea, to an ocean. All of them are water, but all of them are very different and beautiful in their own way. That's everything for today's episode of English with a Brew. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you did or if you didn't, and tell me what topics you'd like to hear me talk about in future episodes. And don't forget, if you want to support this podcast and get access to all of the exclusive episodes, you can do that on my Patreon page. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is where you are right now. Take care.